Freedom Hub. We are here at our new home in California, and as you saw from my last video, me and the rest of the country kind of have some thoughts on how they do things here. And some may have say I was a little bit too harsh on the state in the last video, just kind of going straight up communist with it. But I mean, there's a whole movement right now, and they've actually said it on the news, the whole Make America California again. Kind of a play on the whole MAGA thing, but Make America California. I think that's kind of the last thing that we want. But I'm not here today to talk about politics. Not the politics in California, at least. I mean, that's going to be done on many, many episodes here in the future. And we're going to touch on a lot of that stuff. But that's not what this episode is about. This episode is about how California is a great state. It really is. And it gets overlooked because of a lot of the terrible politics that have gone on, especially within the last 20 to 30 years. So today we're going to focus on the state itself and the good things that are uniquely California. Now, California has a very rich and very diverse history going way, way back. But we're going to start right around the gold rush, which is one of the first things I ever learned about California. Growing up, my father was a San Francisco 49ers fan. And that's right about the time I started to learn about football. So for a time, I was a Niners fan. And, it was pretty easy to be a Niners fan back then in the early 90s. You had Steve Young. Before that, Joe Montana. You had Jerry Rice. Deion Sanders was on there for a while. It was kind of an amazing team. And so the 49ers are like, how did they get their name? Well, it's because of the gold rush in 1849. Everybody who came to California with that hope and aspiration of striking it rich, they were called 49ers. And that's how that team got the name. It's like, okay, I can go with that. But because so many people moved to California in 1849 for the gold rush, it really kind of put a fast track on California's statehood. And in 1850, they actually did become a state. Now, besides that, California is gorgeous. It is a beautiful state. It really is. Looking around, I mean, outside of the cities, obviously, it looks like desktop wallpaper. It looks like a screensaver. It does. Beautiful blue skies, white puffy clouds, everything green, flowers everywhere. It is beautiful. It's amazing. The area that I live in, you're just driving down the street, you start seeing orange groves all over the place. And, oh man, it's gorgeous. And I'm not the only one who thinks so. Back in 1903, Theodore Roosevelt visited Yosemite National Park. Well, he visited Yosemite and made it a national park. One of the first 5 national parks that this country had because it was so gorgeous. We all know California is beautiful. I mean, pretty much because of the shape of the state and everything. You can be in the mountains in a couple hours, or if you drive the other direction, you can be on the beach. Or you could drive all the way down the Pacific Coast Highway up through Big Sur, Monterey Bay, all the way up to San Francisco. It is amazing. And a lot of this beauty leads towards a higher cost of living and higher taxes. Now, that is one of the drawbacks of California. I said I wasn't going to mention any, but because California is so ideal in its weather and everything that you can do here, its natural beauty, that is why the cost of living will go up so much. Now, does it need to be as high as it is? No, not at all. Do the taxes need to be as high as they are in order to maintain that beauty? No, not even close. So let's talk a little bit about the people of California. Now, California has more registered Republicans than any other state. They do. As of February of 2021, they have 5,347,377. And as soon as I can get through the California DMV and voter registration, they'll have 5,347,379 with me and my wife. That's a lot of people. That is a whole lot of people. Now, how does that compare? Now, as of the same date, they have 10,228,144 registered Democrats. But what you also got to really look at, and how that number can be upset so quickly, is the people who registered with no party preference, which means that they're independent. They could go either way. They're just going to vote for the right guy. Now, that means that they're not solely Democrat or solely Republican, which means they can lean any other way. 5,258,223 as of February of 2021. If you swing 95% of them to the right, California goes red for an election. They will. It is up to the political candidates to swing it that way. Now, of course, there's a lot of people here who say that the elections have been stolen for many, many different election cycles over the years. And I could see that. I could definitely see that because of the people in charge. You know, they have the ways to do that, and no more so than they did within the last 2 years. But, man, 5.3 million registered Republicans, 5.2 million registered independents. That gives me hope. California, last time it went red, I believe, was Reagan's second term. So the 1984 election. It could go red again. It can. But you have these liberal strongholds in San Francisco and the Silicon Valley area and Los Angeles County. Those are your main ones because that's where most of the people live, and the people who live there with the extreme high cost of living are typically liberals. And that's how they get to outnumber everything and swing the state so quickly the other way. It is a very, very large state. Not everybody lives in Los Angeles, and not everybody lives in the San Francisco Bay Area. So that leaves a lot of people who feel like they're underrepresented in their state and their politics. They feel like they don't really have their interests at heart because their politicians are just elected by 2 different cities, and that's it. Let me tell you a little bit about the town I live in. I'm not going to say what it is, which one it is, but I will say this, okay? I was very, very lucky. I moved to a city, and driving down the street, I noticed that the street names were named after ex-presidents and major founding fathers. You know, turn on Franklin Street and get on Jackson, and then off Jackson you're going to go over to Madison. You know, it makes sense. And then Lincoln and Kennedy, and yeah, on and on and on. And then I saw the public transportation, and the buses were painted red, white, and blue. Some of them just like a big, gigantic American flag. And I'm like, wait a minute. This isn't the California that I heard about in the news. This isn't the California that I've been dreading living so close to for so long. This is different. And it's pretty great. But a lot of these people feel underrepresented. I mean, one of the largest Tea Party organizations is right here in California. You can't get further away from liberal than that, really. It's kind of a great thing. So One of the things I want to go over is great Americans. I always have the utmost respect for great Americans, people who lived the American dream, who went from pretty much nothing and became something. And it was because of this country and the way that it is organized. So, going through it, I mean, one of the most obvious modern Californians that you can think of is probably Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's an Austrian immigrant, became a celebrity through weightlifting, bodybuilding, and that turned him, model to successful actor. And then he used that fame and actually became governor of California twice. That's right, he was reelected. Now, show me another country where that's possible, where you can come over as an immigrant and accomplish all of that. Wealth, fame, fortune, and political power. Pretty great. Now, California has also been home to a couple ex-presidents. Now, I think I mentioned it before with Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was actually born in Tampico, Illinois, but he moved to California and he became an actor and he started getting the public eye that way, got famous, rubbing elbows with John Wayne and Bob Hope and Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. Pretty great. And then he used that fame and fortune once again to become governor of California twice, again, reelected, and then later president. One of the greatest presidents that we've had. Aside from that, Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon, I know, everybody always thinks about the Watergate scandal, and that's unfortunate. There was a lot of good that Nixon did, including getting all of our soldiers out of Vietnam. Democrats got us into Vietnam, Republican got us out. It's typically how it goes. Now, Richard Nixon was born in California. He was a soldier in the U.S. Navy during World War II. He fought in the South Pacific Theater. He reached the rank of commander. And after that, used his military service for political notoriety and became a member of the U.S. House of Representatives. And then he went to the U.S. Senate. And then from the Senate, he became vice president to President Eisenhower. And he did that for 2 terms. And then, of course, later, after losing the election to Kennedy in 1960, he ran again in 1968, and he won. He was president from 1969 to 1974. Richard Nixon, California. There you go again. One of the most famous modern Californians you can see, it was Elon Musk. And I say was because you know. He was a South African immigrant. And then he came to America. He lived the American dream in California, and he became the founder of PayPal, Tesla, Solar City, which is now Tesla Energy, the Boring Company, Neuralink, and SpaceX. In California, in Silicon Valley, a South African immigrant found the answer to his American dream, and he made it possible. And he took us back into space for the first time since 2011. Pretty amazing. Speaking of Silicon Valley, Steve Jobs. He was born in San Francisco. He pioneered the personal computer. He kickstarted the information age with Apple. He helped to found Pixar in animation studios and is the father of modern technology. He really is. When you look back at it and you look at the people who built it, you could talk about Bill Gates sitting there in Albuquerque and working on like microchips and processors. You could talk about Steve Jobs' partner, Steve Wozniak. You can. But who kept pushing it further? Who created the template that all modern technology companies use today? And that's Steve Jobs. Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood was born in San Francisco. He then developed an award-winning film career as an actor, as a writer, as a director, winning multiple awards over his career, which still is not over. He still has movies coming out, which he writes and directs and sometimes stars in. And he even did a little political stint as the mayor of Carmel by the Sea back in 1986. Pretty great. Clint Eastwood is a great American. Jack London, award-winning American writer, one of the most famous American writers that ever lived. Born in San Francisco, one of the most famous American writers. He wrote White Fang, Call of the Wild, and many, many more. Marilyn Monroe herself. She was born in LA. She redefined American beauty and talent as a model and as an actress and even a little bit as a singer. Sally Ride. Do you know who Sally Ride is? I know who Sally Ride is. Sally Ride was the first American woman in space. She was a physicist, and she flew on the space shuttle. And I'm pretty sure you guys know who Tiger Woods is. Yep, native Californian. Brought the game of golf to a whole new generation. Probably, arguably, nobody better. So, what do these guys all have in common? They have California in common. And the stories and the things that I respect about each one of these people is something that is uniquely American that they found in California. And that is the American dream. They followed the American dream, and they found it in California. The American dream is if you work hard, you can make a living doing anything you want. You can literally go from rags to riches. Now, California reinvigorated that American dream in 1849 with the California Gold Rush. The promise of riches. California became synonymous with making it. That's all we ever want to do, right? That's all any of us ever want to do. We just want to make it. Now, that could be defined as many, many things for each one of us. It could mean a lot of different things. It could mean wealth. It could mean family. It could mean, a really high, powerful job posting, But getting from point A to point B, California has made it possible for many people over the years. California is the golden state because of that promise of wealth, that promise of fame, fortune. From celluloid to silicon, the American dream continues to be optimized by the Hollywood machine. Nerds in their garages struck gold with the microchips and processors in Silicon Valley. And they kickstarted the information age. From celluloid to silicon. And still continuing to this day. California is a beautiful land of opportunity. Now, we as Americans and we as Republicans, conservatives, even if you're just watching at home as a liberal, that's fine. Nobody's perfect. We'll get you there. Don't worry. We're all Americans. And as Americans, we have a sacred duty to protect the democracy and the freedom that this country allows us to have. The freedom that generations before us have fought for and has been preserved for just about 250 years. We need to protect it. And when we see people who are pulling away those freedoms from the people and giving those rights and responsibilities to a government, well, we have to step in and we have to say something, and we have to say it with the loudest voice that we have. So with that being said, it is a great day to be an American. Thank you for watching the Freedom Hub. We'd like to go ahead and thank all of our first responders, law enforcement, veterans, and active military out there. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and go ahead and hit that bell over there and let freedom ring throughout the land. Now, the Freedom Hub is back, and it's coming back in a big, big way. I have the next couple episodes already planned, already written, ready to go. And it's going to be pretty great. But the best thing you could do for me right now is share this video. Share it with everyone you know who loves this country, who's worried about this country. There's a lot of stuff that's gone on. I got enough whiskey where I could talk about it for a little while. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one.